Now, not too long ago, Osee came in and absolutely destroyed the HDMI switcher market with their GoStream. That was their first attempt at an HDMI switcher. So what happens when they take a good monitor that they've made for years and make it better? Welcome back to the channel. Now, I have used and reviewed a bunch of field monitors for creators like yourself. And I do feel that I have some good knowledge on use case. I recently reviewed the Viltrox 6-inch monitor, great monitor. I've previously reviewed the Osee T7 as well. And honestly, the T7 you'll see in every monitor review that I do, I always compare everything to the T7. This is the old outgoing one, and it's now been replaced by the Osee G7 Pro. 3000 nits, 3000 nits, great display, not touchscreen, whole new display with touchscreen. Have they messed it up, or have they made another piece of tech for creators that they're gonna love? At $499, it's not exactly a cheap monitor, but it's extremely, extremely good. And there's a lot to talk about with this monitor, and I'm gonna break it up into 4 different sections. In the box, the build and the ports, the display, and the software. So in the box, you obviously get your display. You get a pretty long USB-C cable, which is used for camera control. Now, it is pretty long, and when I originally used it, I thought, why is this cable so long for a handheld rig? This is a bit overkill. But as you know, I do use my monitors on gimbals, and when you are not using camera control on the actual gimbal, it's pretty nice to have touchscreen camera control with this. And because it's so soft and pliable, doesn't really affect the movement of your gimbal that much. You also get a power cable, so you can run this to D-tap, an Allen key, a nice swivel mount for the monitor, a spare power cap, as well as a user manual. Now, there is no sunshade. There was no sunshade for the T7. At 3000 nits, I don't think you need a sunshade. Osee does sell one if you want to, but I've used this monitor for years. That many years. I don't even know how long I've had this monitor, for that long. And I've never needed a sunshade at 3000 nits. I can promise you that. I do have to tell you this, and this is just typical Osee coming in and always delivering with customer service. But Osee has asked me to tell you that they do recommend that you always use an NPF battery. Now, if you are looking for all-day power and you want a DC option, they recommend using this battery. It's a dummy battery, and I'll leave a link for it in the description below as well. If you screenshot your purchase of that battery and you do have an Osee G7 Pro and you send that all through to Osee, they will actually refund you that $15 by sending you an Amazon gift card that you can use. So really nice for Osee, always looking out for their customers. The build and the ports. Now, the previous T7 was built like a tank. Solid, plastic was great. Didn't really show scratches, nice and solid. The new one even sounds more solid. And same kind of plastic, and there's no, when you twist it, there's no creaking like you get with a lot of monitors. It's solid, absolutely solid, built like a tank, but it is actually smaller. You might notice that the bezels on the top and the bottom and the left and the right have shrunk. The top and the bottom is not as much, but the left and the right, it has shrunk a lot. The new G7 Pro has a smaller footprint, still offering that massive 7-inch display, which is really nice. It looks better on a rig. It has RE-style quarter screws on the top and the bottom. There is none on the sides for vertical mounting, so you would just have to mount it vertically from that side. I'm not too sure why that is, because on this side, there's not a single port on this monitor. And that takes me to this side, where you've got a 3.5mm headphone jack to listen to your audio, as well as an SD card slot that's used for updates, as well as loading user LUTs, which I will show you in the menu. Also, Osee has dropped 2 updates since I've had this monitor. And one of those updates actually added Lumix camera control. So yes, if you have a GH5, GH5S, GH6, GH7, you can actually use that now to control your camera on you, including hit record. Has a vent at the bottom and 2 at the top to help the monitor to cool, because it does get hot. The previous one got pretty warm. This gets pretty hot. And I'll show you the fan system in the menu in a bit. On the back, you have an NPS slot for the battery, 2 HDMI ports, 1 in and 1 out. Now, what that allows you to do is run your camera into the in, and on the out, you can run that to, say, a Holyland transmitter to send your signal elsewhere to a director's monitor. And the same applies for SDI, in and out. You then have a USB-C port, which is used for camera control, like I said. However, what is really nice is if you do have a GH6 or GH7, which allows power to the camera. So obviously the camera control works on a GH5, GH5S and all of that. But with the GH6 and GH7 and G9 Mark II specifically, if you run a USB-C from here into the camera and you are using it for camera control, The NPF battery will actually charge the camera battery within the GH6 or GH7 as well. So you could just hot swap big NPF batteries all day rather than having to worry about extra little camera batteries, which is really nice. And last but not least, you do have a power button on the back. Now this power button is a single tap to switch it on. Once the monitor is on, tap locks it, tap unlocks it, and then holding it will turn the monitor off, but you have to hold it for a while. And that is why I do prefer the old monitor, which had that kind of just on off slide switch. I wish Osee did not change that. However, I do understand that because of the single tap to lock, because it's now touchscreen, decisions had to be made, unfortunately, and it's something that I will just have to get used to. But if you like me and you're in the field a lot, you'll know that a button that slides on and off is just so much more convenient. The display. Now, before I tell you about the amazing display, I do want to tell you that if you do put this face down, you will not be scratching your display. Clearly, Osee has done this before. They've got a thin little bezel over here. So if you have got an HDMI cable plugged in the back and you do want to put this down and you're on set and you have a flat surface, you don't have to worry about your screen getting scratched because there is that little lip. The display is no longer what it was. It's now full touchscreen, and you would assume that that would eat the battery. However, Osee is promising better battery life. And I think the reason they've done that is because the touchscreen does use more battery. So I have used both of these and I don't get more battery out of this. They are exactly the same. So I think they've improved the battery life because of that touchscreen so that it didn't drain as much, because the battery lasted forever on here. So right now I can use them both and I don't see one of them depleting the battery faster than the other. The display is 10-bit. Yes, there's more color in this display. It is absolutely amazing. 178-degree viewing angle, and it has 360 ppi shoved in 7 inches, giving it that 1920 by 1080 display. So it does accept a 4K feed. What that means, because so many people get confused about this. So let's just get the record straight. A lot of field monitors say they are 4K monitors and people think it's 4K resolution. It just means that it accepts 4K from the camera into you via HDMI. A lot of cameras, unlike Lumix, when you're recording 4K internally, you cannot send HD out via the HDMI port. It will automatically send 4K out. Lumix does allow you to change that, and some cameras do, yes. But for those cameras that don't, it just allows you to just put it on auto and hit record and 4K in camera internally, and even if it sends a 4K feed out of that HDMI port, it doesn't really matter. This will take it and turn it down to that 1920 by 1080, so it can accept a 4K feed just like the previous T7 and a lot of monitors nowadays. This monitor also has a bunch of antis, anti-glare, and it works. I'll show you that in a bit. Anti-reflection, anti-fingerprint, anti-scratch. Absolutely crazy. It's got a lot. It's 1,300 to 1 contrast ratio, and you're gonna see them side by side. That's more than this 1,000 to 1 contrast ratio that the T7 had. It's also 60 Hertz. There's so much going on. Osee has got this 22-bit internal processing, which they say gives you 18 stops of dynamic range. And because it is 3,000 nits, this is technically an HDR monitor. This is about as super cool HDR as you want to go. But what's important to me is they've changed the display and they've added a lot, but if it's not better than the T7, what is the point? And that is what I'm going to show you in a side-by-side right after I tell you about Soundstripe, who is the sponsor of today's video. Now, I've been using Soundstripe for years. I love Soundstripe. I don't know how long it's been, but I get licensed music for my clients to use on social media, TV, on their pro plan. I've got sound effects. You can get stock footage. There is so much going on Soundstripe to offer creators. And their new AI song editing is absolutely amazing. I actually did a full video on the AI song editing. I'll link it up here. Very, very cool. Basically, drag and drop the best parts of a song. You want just a piece of the intro and a piece of the beat drop and the chorus and the end. It mashes it up into that little edit that you want. So you don't have to go and customize, 30, 40-second edits just for your customers' reel. Soundstripe's AI can do that for you. I will leave a link in the description below where you can head over there and check it out. It is soundstripe.com/rich. Soundstripe will hook you up. But for now, let's get to the side-by-side in the real world. You can see that the T7 to the new G7 Pro is not even in the same class. They are both equally bright, and I do agree that it is 3,000 nits versus 3,000 nits. But the contrast ratio is pretty evident, but I think the biggest thing is the anti-reflection and anti-glare. You can see there is a huge difference. You can just see that the G7 Pro looks clearer, more contrasty, more real. Don't know how they've created this magic, because honestly, I thought the T7 was the best thing ever, and they've just made it better. I actually noticed something now and I can actually show you this reflection glare thing, how crazy it is. So if I tilt this monitor at a specific angle to the camera, you're gonna see that softbox there. And if I do it on this, look at that difference. How crazy is that? This one reflects it so much more. It's kind of weird to see in real life that it just like subdues those reflections, but this is great. Now, all of that's cool up until we see the software control, because it's no good that the Swift OS makes this a subpar monitor because they've got everything else going for them. So software control and camera control, I'm going to record going through the menu just for you off the cuff and show you absolutely everything. So sit back and relax and check this out. All right, so this is camera control in the GH5. It does work in the GH5S, the GH6, it works in the GH7 if I'm not mistaken. When I received it, it didn't work with the Lumix, and they did an update and it works. So they're constantly adding more cameras as it goes. So right now this is connected to the GH5 and it is 4K. So you'll see what's happening is I'm actually getting conflicting information because the GH5 is outputting display data to the screen. So you can actually go into the GH5. So you can go into the GH5, sorry, it's under HDMI record output, and you can switch your info display to off. That way now all the data, the shutter speed, etc. disappears over here. So this is how it will look. It still shows me that I'm in 4K 29.97, Rec 709, and that is how it looks. So to make things simple, if you start at the top and you tap over here, this will show you your input source, which you can change from HDMI to SDI. If you tap over here, it will go back out. However, if you tap the X, it will go back to the main menu, which I'll show you how to access. Same with the Rec 709. You can change the style from log, so you can have your LUTs in here. There's your camera for Blackmagic, Canon, there are preloaded LUTs, or you can just go to standard and change your gamma. So all of that is possible to change. Vlog, if you can red, log 3 G10, red log film. So you can load all of that up in here. Just cancel that, or just tap, like I say, over there. So my set 1. Now these are your sets. Previously it was like pages within the Osee G7 that you would use the joystick to flick through. So I've got 2 sets loaded, which I only really use. I don't use all 8 sets, which is nice if you own a company and there's a lot of people using the same monitor. So you can see it goes away there after a while. There, I've added now a new set. So this is a new set now that will be added. If you tap the battery, it will show you your G7 Pro, the build info, the software, etc. You can go back out. And then at the bottom right over here, this is where you can access your menu, your monitor settings, as they call it. So we can add a little bit more light here to my hand. There we go. All right. So now on this monitor is you've got input, which is what we had over there. You have got regulate, which is your backlight. I can change the backlight, as you can see, from 0 to 10. You have got your volume. And then you have your fan control. Now it does give you a notice in the latest update to go from auto, or you can actually change it to the temperature of the room that you are in. So if I'm in a room that's 25 degrees Celsius, I can do that, or you can just put it on auto. To be quite honest, the fan is pretty soft. You can leave it on auto or just leave it on 40, then you know the fan's gonna max out, probably eat a little bit more battery, but maybe the safest way. So that is on auto. And the fan is running very, very soft. So then you've got control. This is for your camera control, because obviously I'm plugged in via USB. And you can say camera, USB, trigger mode, video. It shows you the model that I'm connected to, the record format, etc, etc, etc. So video, photo, that is your trigger mode. And you cannot change your control modes over there, obviously. So there's your video mode and your photo mode. Right, moving over to rotate. You can rotate it, so you can screen rotate, image rotate, or mirror it. The rotation is on auto, off, perfect. Status bar. Now you can switch your status bar on and off at the top. So it's battery only, on, off, battery only. So I like to leave it to on. That is obviously the feed that it's getting from the camera right now, which is 4K 29.97, even though I think I'm in actually 60p, because it will receive that. So we can actually check what we are in. We are currently, oh, we're not going to be able to see it right now because the camera display is off. All right, next up we have your range. And on your range over here, you can change you to 64, 940, auto, 0123. It's entirely up to you. Leave it on auto. I'm not that fussy and don't get involved, but if you're one of those guys that get super involved, it is there. So there's your Rec 2020 for UHD, because it is obviously a high dynamic range monitor. Rec 709, Rec 601, or auto. You got your color, and these are basically baked in profiles within the software. And here are your LUTs, your user LUTs. So you can upload your LUTs here just via the SD card. Then have probe after user LUT, before user LUT. Whoops. Let's go back. You've got your language that you can change, your support, where you can just scan and go back. You've got your info, which is what we saw when we tapped the battery icon, and then you've obviously got reset. Now, that is it for that. If you tap over here, it's exactly the same as tapping up here by the My Set. So this shows you your different sets. Now I'm going to show you how to customize your sets. Just before I get to that, this button at the bottom left, access camera control, and takes away camera control. This one over here hides the bottom bar completely and the top bar. And if you tap here again, it brings it back. All right, so I've created a new set over here. What is pretty cool, you can also swipe through your sets. So as you can see, I've got mine on set number 4. So let's just add something to the set. We'll add the aspect to it. You can actually swipe on the screen and go from my set 1, 2, 3, 4. Very, very handy. So I'm going to start with aspect, which is the first one. And if you tap it, it activates. If you swipe up, you can change your aspect ratio. So you can set it to phone, you can have custom ratio, and then you can change the opacity. So if you want to be filming some multi-purpose content for your clients, you can, which is pretty cool. And switch that off. We can add safe marker. There's your safe markers, which are customizable as well. Switch that off. Let's add another one. And we're going to go with the center marker. As you can see, the center marker over there, we can change the style of it. As you can see now, things are starting to get quite full up here at the bottom. Here's your crosshatch, which is also quite cool. You can change the lines 2x2, 3x3, 4x4, 5x5, 9x9, depending on how crazy you want to go. Toggle it on and off, swipe down. Now, because this is getting quite full and we're going to go to anamorphic in a bit, I'm going to show you how to delete these. There is 2 ways. So what you can do over here is we can switch that off, and we're going to delete this one. We're going to hold it and hit delete, delete. Or what you can do is when you swipe up and you are on that one, you can just hit delete over there and swipe up over there and hit delete. So as you can see, there are 2 ways to delete it. Right, we're going to go anamorphic. Now, anamorphic, if you do bring it up, you've got all the squeeze ratios over here: 1.25, 1.33, 1.4, 1.5, 1.6, 1.65, 1.79, 1.8, 1.9, and 2x. And you can also turn on magnification or off magnification if you do want to zoom in to that. We're going to add false color over here. As you can see, the false color, you've got custom style, spectrum, follow camera style. You can change if you do move over, you can change the range and endpoint and really customize it exactly how you want to. So let's delete that. And we got zebra, your zebra or zebra. The proper name is zebra because they are from South Africa and we say zebra, so it has to be right. You've got tone 1 minimum, tone 2 maximum, and tone 2 minimum. And you can change the code value over here, and you can even slide this bar, just by the way. So yeah, let's take that down. I'm going to add another one. I should have switched that off. There's your waveform. Let's just toggle that off.
So now you can see your waveform on the top right. If we swipe up, we've got Luma style, parade, RGB. We can change the size, put it at the bottom, which you're not going to see now because this is up, large or small, and then you can change the position of it over there. Swipe down, and obviously you can toggle as much on as you want to at any point. We are going to add the vectors, exactly the same pretty much. You can change the position, times 2 gain, times 1 gain, and you can change the density of it. Switch that off, swipe down, tap for the next one, and we're going to go to histogram. Pretty much the same as well. You've got your Luma, RGB, and the position as well as the opacity of it. And delete. We've got focus assist. We'll toggle that on. Swipe up. You can change it from green, red, white, blue, and you can change the sensitivity of that assist. And where did it go? Oh, switched it off. And you can change your background to black and white, so you can just see what's in focus at whatever color you want to. This is a very, very handy tool to have. As you can see, if you're filming and you're trying to check what's in focus, you can see exactly what is in focus. So we'll bring that back up, tap here, switch it off, and we're going to go to peaking. I'm going to swipe up on the peaking, and you can set the intensity on the, on the peaking over here. You can see it just kind of really adjusts. The easiest way I can explain it is the sharpness of it just like really pushes up. You might not be able to see it so well. I can see it a lot easier than you can. Let's delete that. Next we're going to go to the look, and your look is essentially your LUT. So you can switch over here to whatever you want it to be, and then if you go to user LUT options, you can just toggle between the LUTs that you have uploaded, and easy just toggle it on and off. You've got your multi-scopes, which you can change Luma waveform, RGB waveform, X1 vector, X2 vector, Luma histogram, and obviously you can go crazy on that one too. So your screen can look like that. We have got the audio meter, which is really nice. You can hear my voice over there and see it, and you can change the opacity of it, and you can also change the position. Next, we have time code. So here's your time code, which is not going to work because I have no time coder over here. So that is that. Tapping over here takes it away, there brings it back. And the nice thing is with the sets, this is saved in the set. I can just go here and add another set. It always saves in the set. So whatever you do on that set, when you power it off, it just immediately saves. It's constantly saving itself to how you have it. Very, very nice. Now I'm going to get into camera control. Now I do have a manual lens on here, so I'm going to show you anyway, except I won't be able to change the iris, but the iris does work exactly the same. So once your camera is connected via USB-C, this little icon will pop up and you tap it. Now I can just run like this completely. You can see I've got the Panasonic GH5, 4K 60, 150 megabits, MOV, manual focus, and if I tap the first one, you will see that you can adjust the shutter. Now, I have spoken to Osee about this, and let me know in the comments what you guys think, but I personally think that this goes the wrong way. When I push down, I want to go closer to 0, and when I push up, I want to go closer to 1000 on the shutter, or whatever it may be. Just in my brain, going down makes me closer to 0, and going up goes higher in the number. Down in number, up in number. Makes a lot more sense for me. Let me know what you think. I have spoken to Osee, and hopefully they do change it for my own sanity. Normally I'd just be able to tap here on the iris and just change the f-stop. It works exactly the same. Up goes down in number. If I hit record, it will actually start recording, as you can see, and tap record and goes off. What's really, really nice about this is, as you can see, that red square appears right around here. Now on the GH6, that actually happens. This is the GH5, which doesn't have a red square. So this is the monitor software actually creating that red square around here, which is a huge bonus because I got massively used to this on the GH6, and the GH5 doesn't have it. So it's great that the monitor has it. ISO exactly the same. Going down goes up in number, and I can change the ISO accordingly. White balance, I can change the white balance. For some reason, I can't change my white balance. I think it's something that I must have done in my camera. And if I tap over here, it goes away. As you can see, there it goes away. And then I can bring up the bottom icon. So this button at the bottom corner toggles those two icons, and the one just takes it away, as you can see. What is really cool is you can actually just pinch and zoom and move it around. So if you are wanting to check focus, just because, so let's just pinch in and go to the RX lens, and now I'm going to adjust the focus manually. You can pinch to zoom, and then you can just zoom out, as you can see. Pinch to zoom, and then move it around. Takes a little bit of getting used to, but you do get used to it eventually. I decided to put a lens on that I can change the aperture for you, as you can see, just to kind of show you that it can be done, because just now someone decides that you cannot do it. So yes, you can. There you can see I'm changing the aperture 3.2, 3.5, 4. I went to 4.1, which is weird. 4.5, 5. As you can see, you can change the aperture. Now, only on some cameras can you do touch to focus, so I believe it's not available on the Lumix. If you want to tap on the screen and focus over there, so that you can't do. It shows here that it doesn't work. Perhaps there is a setting in the GH5 or the Lumix series that allows tap to focus, but as far as I'm aware, it cannot be done on the GH5 or the GH6.
Now there is one thing that I didn't show you, and that is that you can lift the brightness up and down by moving your finger on the left-hand side of the screen and up and down on the right for the volume. And the reason that I didn't show you that is with the latest update that was sent through to me, it only works for the volume. The left-hand side has somehow been disabled. I think it's a bug in the update, and they're obviously going to fix that, because in the previous updates, prior to the original software and the first update, it did work. So I think it's just the update that I've got that's disabled it. I have let Osee know, so they will be fixing that. So don't worry about it, but I do want to tell you that, because if you know Osee, you know these guys are on the ball and they fix it. The verdict. So the real question here is this monitor worth it? Is it the best monitor that I have used? Hands down. The T7, I compared every review that I did to the T7. This was the benchmark. This was the icon, the Michael Jackson of pop. And right now the G7 Pro has taken that throne. It is way better than the previous T7. You still got the 3000 nits of brightness, and I think there's a lot of you that's asking, if I own a T7, is it worth me upgrading? To be honest, if you want the camera control, yes. If you don't need the camera control, you could see this in the sun anyway. At 3000 nits, this was more than bright enough. The anti-glare and anti-reflection that this offers still with the 3000 nits and the cooler, smaller footprint is definitely going to entice a lot of buyers. But I would say this, if you do own one of these and you do have two cameras or rigs, I would definitely buy this as your upgrade monitor and retire this one to your second cam. So that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm definitely not getting rid of my T7 because I love it way too much. And this will be second cam and this will be first cam. Absolutely love them. So I will leave a link in the description below where you can head over and check out the Osee G7 Pro. That's it from me. If you have any questions, please let me know. Wherever you are in the world, have a good day, good evening, good night. Goodbye.